So the topic of writing and writing technologies is very long and complex, and there's no way that could be covered in its entirety in under 3 minutes. So today I'll be primarily focusing on the development of, cuneiform along that line of logic up until the internet as we know it today, and how the recording and distribution of information has moved from stone tablets up until the internet, and kind of the cultural implications of how that spread. So the ancient Sumerians in 3500 BC were the first in Western culture to create written language that we know of, at least independently. And that was primarily utilized for public administration and policy. And that was the most famous work of which was the Code of Hammurabi, that was written in 1754 by the Babylonian king Hammurabi, anyways. And that kind of set the tone for how language would be used, not only for laws, but also the recording of agricultural yields and things like that, which demonstrated a level of societal complexity that goes beyond just, farming for subsistence. And there were that language was also the precursor to more modern languages, which is Hebrew and Arabic, which the whole Old Testament was written in, as we've discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls from 408 BCE to 318 CE. So that kind of covers the development of a language from just being used for public administration to focusing on religion and culture in a society. And it's pretty interesting how that just recording that language allowed it to spread rapidly throughout, all the way through, starting in Southern Europe, where some of the stories in the Bible take place, through the rest of Europe, and how one of the oldest religious texts that we know of in the Western world is actually the first text produced using movable printing, which was the first book that Johann Gutenberg produced, the Gutenberg Bible, in 1455, only 54 years after the printing press. And it's kind of interesting seeing the development of, these started off as scrolls that were distributed. They weren't collected, but as we developed the technology of the Bible, the scholars decided to combine similar texts that they believe had similar themes and were rooted in the same religious principles. And that kind of set the tone for how we would organize and understand information as being grouped. And the velocity to which that information could then spread. We can see how the structure of that information allowed it to be very powerful and could be distributed across the world through missionaries and things like that. And so that kind of brought on the New Silk Road as well, like these languages, and our development of these technologies allowed us to develop trade routes that then built demand for new products, and brought on the Industrial Revolution. I mean, this is a big step in history that I'm not really explaining. I don't really have the time, but that kind of, it's along that line. The Industrial Revolution kind of demanded more education and more literacy, because after about the 1850s, the demands of the new industrial economy demanded that we have more educated workforce and better flow of information in order for logistics and things like that. And so it was very practical that at least 30-40% of the population needed to be literate in order for there to be significant gains in per capita income, according to E.G. Wells, who is a scholar on the connection between literacy and industrialization. And so that led to the development of the internet, and now we have mass dissemination of information. It's very, very easy for anyone to be able to read, and not anyone, but it's much easier to get access to any information. And so we just live in a completely different world that we did today, where there is information everywhere, And that's primarily because everyone knows how to use it. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you.